I just saw Season 2, Episode 7 of Peacemaker, and here are my thoughts. So I've been doing this ever since Episode 1 came out, same day each episode releases. It's been really exciting, and now we're getting near the end, so let's get into it. So we open up right into action, right where the last episode ended, and Chris basically is finding out what kind of universe this really is. There's a mural of the mustache man on the wall, which is pretty funny. Anyway, back to Adebayo.
No bam, if you know, you know.
Judo master ends up saving her.
And he's feeling some sympathy because I imagine he had to go through a similar situation when he first got there. And they find a random house, just camp in there, and they play Scrabble. But, if I was Adebayo, I wouldn't be playing Scrabble right now. I would be, plotting out what the hell I'm going to do next, My survival is on stake here. Back to Chris and Harcourt. They have to fight their way out of Argus. But, to be honest, I'm not really a big fan of the fight scenes this season. I don't like the way they're shot or choreographed. I loved the fight scenes in the Suicide Squad and Superman and all the Guardians movies, but it's just not hitting this season. I don't know. Anyway, they end up talking with Augie, and he says something along the lines of, "Come with me if you want to live," which was a reference to Terminator, but he didn't say that quote in the movie, so it's kind of weird, but anyway. And if we skip a little towards the end, we get this big face-off between the 11th Street Kids with Keith and Augie, except it's only Harcourt, Keith, and Chris of the 11th Street Kids. Keith is lashing out at him because, Chris just admitted to killing his brother, even if it was an accident. But surprisingly, Augie is being a little understanding, a lot. And I know every character in this Earth X was kind of the opposite of how they are in our Earth, but for some reason I just still expected him to be this Yahtzee guy, this racist guy. He's having this huge emotional moment, and then Vigilante crashes through the door and fucking kills him, which I didn't expect. I don't know if that's one of the twists and turns James Gunn was talking about for these episodes, but it did surprise me. So anyway, there's this big fight scene, and Keith is you killed my brother? Now you killed my dad? What the hell? There's this huge fight scene, and basically Keith gets stabbed too. And all the 11th Street Kids are just killing him, thinking they're saving Chris, which they kind of are. And then Chris just lets out the craziest, most vile scream I've ever heard. He's like, "Stop, I can't watch my brother die again." And they stop and they leave. They're getting out of Earth X as fast as they can. But Harcourt stays behind. She tells Earth X Vigilante, "Give me your gun, I gotta kill Keith so he doesn't come after us again." And before she could do it, the cops interrupt her. She leaves and goes back to her dimension. So that means Keith is still out there, still alive, and still seeking vengeance on the 11th Street Kids. Back in their regular Earth though, Chris ends up turning himself in. He's in police custody with Argus, and him turning himself in was kind of reminiscent of Superman. But yeah, this whole episode was basically setting up 8, and the way James Gunn describing it, and the way he's hyping it up, 8 better be the best goddamn thing I've ever seen. Now, I'm going to be happy either way, if it's like this. I do think episode 6 was much better, but Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 7 is an 8 out of 10. I rated every single episode except Episode 6 an 8 out of 10, so pretty consistent show if you ask me. Especially compared to Season 1. Especially. And really quick before you go, I just wanted to talk about the post-credit scene, and it was crazy. And by the way, the guy from Superman cameoed, that googly-eyed Lex Luthor assistant. The post-credit scene was outtakes as usual, and I know James Gunn says he doesn't like post-credit scenes to be setting something up because he wants that to be included in the actual movie, but I'm not on his side here. That was such a great part about the Marvel Cinematic Universe experience, was the post-credit scenes, and it actually got people to watch the credits and give the crew, respects. But anyway, the post-credit scene in this episode was horrible. It featured the googly eye assistant saying this crazy thing, and that's a shock value joke. It was kind of disgusting and did not land, so... And imagine if, the Supergirl reveal was in the post-credit scene of Superman. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Prove you're watching right now by commenting your predictions for episode 8, and peace out. Also, I just wanted to say, just because they said the word scot-free, it's not a reference to scot-free. That's just a saying, so stop with that, bro. Also, Flurry is not Martian Manhunter, so shut up.